If you touch my drums, I will stab you in the neck with a knife!
What's up, guys? So, yes, this video is just gonna be a little more different. It's gonna be more of like a free flow thought process than my scripted reviews. I'm just gonna be reading from my notes here. But I just loved Final Fantasy VII Remake so much that I just want to discuss more of my thoughts and theories about it, because there's a deeper thing going on here with Remake than I initially realized, and I just need to get it off my chest. So, a few quick notes. Number one, I haven't replayed the original Final Fantasy VII in quite a while, so I may get some details wrong, so if I do, please tell me in the comment section. Number two, a lot of my current thoughts were sort of illuminated by Maxamillian Dude's 4 levels of rabbit hole, which I will basically reference this entire video and try to explain it to the best of my ability. But I just highly recommend watching the 3-hour-long conversation over at Easy Allies YouTube channel. It's called Spoiler Mode. Check it out, because it's the best Final Fantasy VII Remake conversation out there. It's amazing. And number 3, like and subscribe. If you like my content, check out my own Final Fantasy VII Remake review. I just released it a couple days ago, so just check all that stuff out. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about the Whispers, what they are and what they represent. Everyone seems to hate them. Everyone seems to hate them because they're very Kingdom Heartsy, and on the surface level, this would be level 1, according to Max Dude. It's very in your face, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Why put this shit in here? Nomura, damn you, that kind of thing. And believe me, I had the same thoughts. I had the same thoughts when I played this the first time around. So, according to the game, the Whispers are these ethereal beings there to maintain the status of fate, or destiny, or the current timeline, or what have you, and they intervene when someone tries to mess with all that. They also, metaphorically, symbolize us, the fans, particularly the most ornery of us. The type of fan that just wants no changes whatsoever and wants just a one-to-one reboot, and that's it. Basically, a fan that has zero faith that Nomura and Square Enix can pull off any new story elements to this classic story. And again, I'm totally with you guys. Kingdom Hearts is not for everybody. It's not my favorite. It's really weird, and it's just super absurd, and it's just really vague. The story writing is not the greatest. So I totally get everyone's reservations here. So let's just roll here. Let's just peel back another layer and go to level 2 of Max Dude's theory here. And this is where things start to open up a little bit. So here we go. The Sephiroth we see in the game is not the present-day Sephiroth, but post-Advent Children Sephiroth, somehow transcending time and space to mess with the timeline. We don't know his motivations yet. Logic would dictate that because he dies in the original timeline, he's trying to mess with the characters and mess with fate and all that stuff. When I first played the game, I thought this was just a more powerful version of the present-day Sephiroth, but as I began to climb the levels with Max Dude here, I began to realize that Advent Children's Sephiroth makes so much more sense. See, and a lot of people were left confused on how he's so much more powerful in this game than in the original. But remember, if we're talking about post-Advent Children Sephiroth, he's not human. He exists at that point at the cellular level. He's kind of like a magic virus that can manifest as Sephiroth when the right conditions are met. So it kind of blew my mind a little bit too. So if you're still not on board, I just want to tell you this. Remember that Sephiroth's single black wing wasn't there until the end of Final Fantasy VII, and I think the end of Advent Children. And what's the first thing that you see of Sephiroth in the game? It's a single black feather. So if we accept all this, then the Whispers make sense. At least make more sense. I mean, still a bit on the nose, but at least now I have a better understanding of their purpose and why they're there. You could just... you can say that the physical embodiment of them isn't really necessary, and I agree that you could do this timeline stuff without them, but then I thought, hey, this is a video game from Japan with anime type storyline and anime characters and anime fantasy stuff. where things in American narratives are usually told with a bit more subtlety, anime logic just creates giant physical beings that you fight in these huge epic sort of battles that represent those same sort of subtle things, but in just a bigger way, bigger, more in-your-face way. And that's just my take, but yeah. And I also thought too, like if you were gonna go down this path of timeline manipulation without the whispers, I mean, what big bad would you have to fight at the end, other than Sephiroth? And I mean, like, how many times do we have to fight Sephiroth before it gets old? You know, like, it's not old because it's awesome, but you know, eventually, if that's all you get at the end of every game, you're just gonna get tired of it. Also, it's kind of important to note that the whispers don't show up until the first time you see Sephiroth in the fiery alleyway, in which he apparently is stalling Cloud. He spews some stuff about some things, and then the current timeline shifts. And if we're going butterfly effect rules here, then everything from this point on needs to be adjusted. And this would explain that awkward meeting with Aerith for the first time instead of the more like sweet moment from the original. It makes sense now. Cloud sees her distressed and he walks over to her to see what the commotion is, and at that point the timeline is fixed by the whispers to some degree. It's kind of fun, you know, all these little whisper moments that I originally was like, this is kind of weird, I have no idea what's going on, but the second time through, knowing all of this, or thinking all of this anyway, it's just still just a theory, but I think this is pretty spot on. These moments have a different level of purpose now, rather than weird things that Nomura, wanted to throw in for fun. So what's the deal with Aerith then? She starts out basically the same as in FF7, all smiles and flirty and fun, but as the game progresses, she starts to act like she knows more than she's letting on. It's possible that all throughout the game, because of her close connection with the planet, she becomes aware of Sephiroth, or at least the actions that he's taking. It's established in the game that she can communicate with the dead, so what's to say that she hasn't been told by the planet that Sephiroth is bad news? She knows who he is, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. She knows more than the surface level. By the way, if you start thinking about this game in terms of Star Wars, Aerith is Obi-Wan, Sephiroth is Darth Vader, then things are starting to be even more clear, and you're like, wow, okay, I'm starting to get really excited about this. By the way, this level of rabbit hole, if you're still with me, is level 3, according to Max. Do I agree with him? The evidence is stacking in that direction. I don't think she completely understands what's going on, like Sephiroth does, because she hasn't experienced the future yet. Sephiroth has. So I think she's going to maintain that same level of cute, flirty bubbliness in the next games, but with increasing levels of awareness as everything progresses. So, are you still with me? Now that we've established that Sephiroth is aware of the broader picture and butterfly affecting everything, let's talk about what that means for the controversial ending. A lot of people out there do not like the ending because they are still kind of at this like level 1 where they're just like, what the fuck is going on? Why is Zack still alive? What does it mean? I mean, I was here too, guys, so let's try to break this down. So as you come to the final battle to go through the portal, notice it's called Singularity during this part, you'll notice the big giant Kingdom Hearts guy called Harbinger, Whisper Harbinger, that sends 3 beings to fight you. One holding a sword, one with gloves, and one with a gun. 2 guns, in fact. So it's kind of, it's representing future versions of Cloud, Tifa, and Barret, right? I thought so too, but if you look closer, that's 1 glove, a smaller looking sword, and a pistol-like gun. Actually 2 guns. Barret doesn't use a pistol, nor does he use 2 guns. But you know who does? Yazoo from Advent Children. Laz from Advent Children uses 1 glove, and Kadaj uses a smaller looking katana rather than a giant big buster sword. If you're still not with me, okay, so when you use assess on the Croseo Whisper thing, in the description it says, an entity from a future timeline that fights with guns, plural, to protect the future that gave shape to it. I mean, it might be a stretch. It very well might be a stretch. But I'm thinking that these are, in fact, the remnants from Advent Children and not Tifa, Cloud, and Barret, as we all think it is. So why bring all of this back from Advent Children? Okay, so honestly, I think it's all just Easter eggs, but it's possible that it's on purpose. That in this singularity, you've entered a place where time and space don't exist, and all timelines and separate universes are dependent upon what happens in this battle with fate. All possible timelines cross in this section, the past being Crisis Core, the future being Advent Children, and the present. That's why this chapter is called Destiny's Crossroads. This would explain why Cloud and all the others can jump super high and cut through buildings and even use Omnislash before he's even learned it. And by the way, if you notice, that Sephiroth is so much more powerful now that he blocks it, unlike in the original game where that was the killer blow. Either he's more powerful or he knows how to block it because he's seen it already. So with all of this in mind, this ending has a lot more purpose behind it than a lot of people give it credit for. That purpose being that they want to reference the entire compilation of Final Fantasy VII lore without really referencing the stuff they know isn't popular. Basically taking out the stupid stuff like, don't cry, Azu, or don't cry, Laws, or, where's Mother, that kind of stupid stuff. But still recognize that the broader story of Advent and Crisis Core is important in some way or another. And then I thought of this too. You know what they're doing? They're pulling a Days of Future Past where they are essentially just erasing X-Men 3. That's exactly what they're doing. They're erasing X-Men 3 and keeping the good stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the very, very end, where we get the realization that Zack actually lives. So I think it's apparent that this is either a separate universe or a different timeline or something like that. And I think them passing each other at the end symbolizes that. But why do this? Why bring him back? Why bring back Biggs at the end? And you notice that they actually keep people alive that died in the original game. And you're like, what? Are they just afraid of death now? What's going on? I originally thought this is them preparing the fans that like, hey, you can actually save Aerith in this game. But then I thought, wait a minute, this is all just a big setup. They want us to believe that we can save Aerith. Because Aerith dying is the most important moment in Final Fantasy VII, because it just comes out of nowhere. It's shocking. And you're just like, what the fuck? Oh my god. And you're sad and you're depressed. And in Remake, I think they're going to do it again. But this time, in a way that will make you, the player, sort of choose to do it, because it's the only way to save the world. It's the only pathway to beat Sephiroth. Truly. I mean, well, this is just one way. Maybe another person will die instead, but I think because of her connection with the planet as an ancient, it gives her special powers in the live stream. Again, we're kind of going Star Wars, Obi-Wan kind of stuff, but it's she has to sacrifice herself because she's the only one to defeat Sephiroth. Her death was originally sad because it was shocking. Imagine how sad it's going to be when you have the choice to save her only to realize it's inevitable. It's going to rip your heart out of your chest. So let's talk about, let's go back to Zack. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do with him. Possibly a Final Fantasy VIII thing where Cloud has dreams of Zack and you get to play as him back and forth. Or you know what? They might just make a mobile game about him. Oh my god. Please guys, don't do that. Don't do the Kingdom Hearts thing, guys, please. But I don't know. I think the coolest theory though is this theory from Max Dude is at the very end of the game where you're back at Destiny's Crossroads like part 1, but Zack fights alongside you. And this is how you beat Sephiroth. I mean, you can't beat him with one Omnislash, so you're going to need 2. That would be pretty dope. That would be pretty awesome. I like Zack being alive, actually, because I actually just played Crisis Core recently. And at the end, you just feel like there's just like this unfinished business with him. And his death is so sudden with no big payoff at the end. And maybe that's just because it's a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. There's not meant to be this big, huge payoff, but it just still makes you feel like his end needs more meaning, you know? At least with Aerith's death, you get to save the world. With Zack, it's kind of like, okay, so Cloud learns how to do your stuff all of a sudden? This is kind of weird. So, Okay, so I think we're at level 3. We're at level 3 rabbit hole right now. I don't know. I think level 4 is like super meta stuff, like Sephiroth being so powerful that he's actually able to break the fourth wall somehow, and he's actually talking to the player when he says the weird, crazy stuff, like "I will never be a memory." But I mean, that's pretty crazy. It's hard for me to get on board with that kind of stuff. But I mean, you could maybe pull something like that off. I mean, Sephiroth has transcended the human status of evil. You know, he's like the human, he's like, not the human, but he's like the embodiment of evil. He's like Darth Vader in a lot of ways. I mean, I do think that Sephiroth could be the type of villain that can break the fourth wall if you'd pull it off, if you could do it right, which Square Enix has, you know, their track record isn't great as of late, so we'll see what happens. And I think that's about it. I know this is kind of long and kind of all over the place, but I'm excited. I'm excited about these new parts. I'm excited about Remake after learning a sort of bigger perspective, playing through the game again, and then watching podcasts and listening to other people's theories, and then kind of just like reaffirming some of the things that I was feeling. And really, again, you guys need to watch the spoiler mode episode with Maxamillian Dude and the 3 other gentlemen, which the 4 other gentlemen, which I'm not familiar with, but again, they all had a great conversation about this game, and I encourage everyone to listen to that 3-hour-long episode. It's a big commitment, but I promise you, it's worth it. But Square Enix is taking some big risks here, and I'm happy to see it. I am on board, and I give them all the kudos in the world for the ambition. I haven't seen it in a long time. So yeah, guys, that's about it. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Help the channel grow. And if you want to talk about the game or talk about some of the things I've said in this video, please just leave a comment down below. Let's dish. Let's talk. I would like to hear some of your theories. What do you guys think? Because, you know, I mean, the possibilities are endless. This is great. I'm feeling great about this. So yeah, just hit me up. All right, guys. See you guys next time.